What a lovely place this is. I'm in East Linton, in East Lothian. Place I've been before. It's just a little village, but it's got a lovely feel to it. There's a beautiful old mill just on the outskirts of the village. Fantastic ducat. With a name like that, you've just got to pay it a visit. Actually, it's not called that. I think there's a ducat called Fantastic Ducat. The mill, I can't remember what the name of the mill is. Is it Preston Mill? But it's a lovely mill anyway. It's like something about Lord of the Rings. And then there's that ducat. Yeah, it's just a beautiful place. I could quite happily stay here. But of all the videos that I make, the kind of historical ones are more popular than the ones where I'm traipsing about the hills. Nobody's really that interested in seeing me traipsing about the hills. These videos don't get that many views. Some people like them, but most people prefer the historical ones with Glasgow or Edinburgh. Today I'm going to try and combine these two themes. We're going up a small hill today, Traprain Law. I think it's only about 200 metres high, but it is quite prominent in the skyline and will offer tremendous views all around. It used to be an Iron Age hill fort. In fact, it was probably occupied from the Bronze Age right up to the Dark Ages and maybe even the early medieval period. A lot of uncertainty with these old things. And it was apparently once a main centre for a particular Celtic tribe, and their king lived on top of this hill. Now there's any number of spellings of his name, but I think Loth is one of them, and he apparently gave his name to the area, Lleuddun. But perhaps more important than that, if you live in Glasgow, is that a princess was born on this hill. I mean, at one time there was probably over 300 Celtic round huts on top of this hill. Sizable community, along with the king. And his daughter, the Princess Lleuddun, was raped either on or close to the hill. Raped by her cousin. Or so that's how the story goes. You know, these things happened that long ago that you can never be absolutely certain, but certain kind of main aspects of these stories are almost certain to be true. And the king, rather than blame the person who raped his daughter, he blamed his daughter for being raped. And he had his daughter roped to a chariot and thrown off one of the steep crags on top of this hill. And she somehow survived that and was placed upon a coracle and set adrift in the River Forth. And she ended up on the other side of the River Forth at Curis, where some monks in a monastery took her in, and there she gave birth to the child, who was named Kentigern, later to become Mungo, and later to found Glasgow, and he became Glasgow's patron saint. So I'm kind of struggling to properly emphasise how important this little hill is with regard to the development of not just Glasgow, but also Edinburgh, because that tribe moved to the rock on which Edinburgh Castle now sits and founded Edinburgh, and probably responsible for creating and developing a good part of central Scotland. So this is a link between the east and the west. We've got a couple of miles on road initially to get to the foot of the hill. Let's just get that out of the way, and I'll see you at the foot of the hill. Well, we're getting close to the turn off, heading for the Traprain Law. You can see the huge quarry that's cut quite a bit out of that hill on this side of it. But you know, I passed a farm up there, just looked like an ordinary farm, but it had a rather attractive looking tall chimney that had an industrial look to it. You don't see stuff like this in the west side of the country. It's quite unusual. As I say, it looks industrial. I don't know, was it just a chimney attached to a part of the farm for what reason? And I've come upon another one. I'll move out of the way. I think I'm right in front of the chimney. Yeah, there's another one right here. These aren't ordinary dwellings. I might have to check an old map to find out what these used to be, because I'm strangely fascinated by stuff like this. Fred Dibnah would have a field day. Anyway, well, not far to go now to the turn-off. Some of these roads don't have pavements on them. Quiet roads, but you can never be too careful, you know. Let's go. Well, we've made it to the foot of the hill. A pretty easy to spot entranceway. You want to stay well away from the quarry there. Too dangerous. This whole area, as you walk along the roads from East Linton, is full of little rocky crags. I saw one back there. There's one just down there somewhere. These are lower than this one. But I said on many occasions before, when you're constructing a fort or some sort of place you want to live and you want to defend it, the less work you can do to defend, to build defences, then the easier it is for you. And you know, obviously the rocky crags are natural defences. It's a good idea to make use of them. This information panel is reminding us that a huge 25 kilogram hoard of Roman silver was found on this hill. And it's just an indication, I think, that perhaps unlike some Iron Age groups, this particular group of people got on well with the Romans, perhaps worked with them. How they came to accrue 25 kilograms of Roman silver, right enough, is another story. Was it a reward? Why did they bury it? Did they steal it? So many questions. But I'm looking forward to going up here. I don't know what there will be. Sometimes there's very little evidence of habitation from the Iron Age period and other periods. You may be hoping for little kind of banks and ditches and things, and maybe an occasional glimpse of a outline of a Celtic roundhouse. We'll see. Well, I haven't got to the top yet, but I thought I'd just have something to eat just now. I've got a couple of pies in East Linton, in the butcher's there, and they'd just come out not long out of the oven, so they still had some residual heat. And God, there's nothing better than that, you know. They were quite small, so I got two of them. And I'm not. Oh yeah, getting jagged. What the heck? I'm sitting in a nettle, right? I'm not sure what sort of pies they are, because I thought I saw a particularly nice one in the display, but I thought that the one I was looking at was bigger than this, unless it's shrunk during the heating process. There's still a wee bit of residual heat there. Here we go. Nice looking pie. Well, beautiful. Minced onion. Oh, it's absolutely packed. Oh, that is a good pie. Yep. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Best pie I've had in a long time. When I was down in Sheffield, I had a wee break down there, and I was in the Fat Cat pub in the Crelham Island area. And just by sheer good fortune, my arrival coincided with a delivery of pies. And like this one, there were pork pies and there was a bit of residual heat there. My God, what a beautiful thing that was. I would go back to Sheffield just for that experience. And here in Glasgow, we just don't seem to do stuff like that, you know. I so prefer many of the pubs in England. They just seem to do things so much better than we do up here. There's no background sounds in a number of the pubs. You could just sit and drink your beer and eat your pie to the background sound of slurping and munching. It's funny, as I'm sitting here, and I noticed it when I was coming along the road, there's an awful lot of ladybirds in this area. I mean, I can see from where I'm sitting, I can see three there. They're not red, they're kind of orange ladybirds. There's one there. They're all over the place. It's an infestation. Well, it's larger up here, and perhaps, although it's not totally flat, there's certainly a lot of kind of space up here, and you can well imagine that there would have been something like 300 Celtic hut circles, and a lot of people living up here. Generally in these forts, you had the person in charge of the group of people, in this case, the king. I can't imagine he was the king just of this fort. It must have been the king of the whole area. And as I said earlier, there's a number of spellings, but I think we'll call him King Loth just now, rightly or wrongly. And the person in charge would generally have stayed at the top or in the highest point in that fort. Trig Point, that's roughly the highest point there. Although in the hills, the Trig Point's not always the highest point. But anyway, that's another story. There's actually quite a large circular area just behind me. You can see it's bordered by stones. I don't know what that is, but that may well have been the base for a larger sort of hut circle and the headquarters or the home of the king. There's also, I don't know if you can see it from there, but just there's a strange feature. It's almost sort of, I don't know what that shape is. So it's curving, long and curving, as if it's leading towards this large circular area. I mean, it may well have been the entrance, a grand entrance to that thing. And I could just be talking a load of rubbish here. But sometimes when you're in these places, it's nice to imagine and think and what you think these things were used for. Because in a lot of cases, archaeologists don't know. So let's just make it up as we go along. But there's something that's fascinating feature there. I don't know what it is. Up here, there is also supposed to be a little kind of pond area. If that's it down there and it's dry just now, but I saw it in the Meikle Reeve Hill Fort above Lennoxton. I did a video about that. They had a little kind of damp area, pond. What were these for? Nobody really knows. Did they keep fish in them for eating? Bread, fish? Did they wash their clothes in them? Was it supply of drinking water? I don't know. Nobody knows. I'm inclined to go with the fish idea, to be honest. Because in later years, in the 15th, 16th and other centuries, big houses often had a kind of pond nearby where they would have kept fish for eating. I'm hoping you can hear me, it's a hell of a wind. I wander about a bit more. It's quite a large area up here. We'll see what else we can see, but it definitely feels like a hill fort. There's lots of stuff going on here. Further down, past some rocky, definite kind of vague curves made out of rock that may well have been hut circles at one time. But let's just have a further wander. Hopefully I'm in shot. I never know if I'm in shot with this stupid camera. I've been talking about Celtic roundhouses, and yet, okay, there was a large circular feature just by the trig point, but I'm also seeing rectangular features. Just on the other side of this rock is, I think, what the sort of pond area. It is dry just now, it's kind of muddy. And just on that side of it, there's a kind of line of stones in a straight line. Now, this, I don't know if you can see it from there, but there is a line of stones heading towards the rock there, a straight line of stones. And there's also maybe some sort of, something maybe here. I mean, it's almost as if we're looking at a rectangular building with two rooms. And obviously, I imagine this rock's been cut away to form two sides of that rectangle. And this would be an ideal spot to have your house, because you're getting quite a bit of protection from that natural bit of rock there. And as I said earlier, this wasn't just an Iron Age hill fort. This probably occupied for thousands of years, from the Bronze Age, if not before, all the way through the Iron Age into the Dark Ages and the early medieval period. So perhaps in later years after the Bronze Age, that's perhaps when some of these rectangular structures started appearing. Did they build rectangular dwellings in the Iron Age? I don't know, I'm no expert. But this is a fascinating thing. At one time, somebody lived here. Just think about that. I find myself strangely drawn to this spot. Sometimes you've got to just go with your instincts and how you feel about a location. It's not as high as that round thing just by the trig point up there. It's not as high as that, but it is a recognisable high bit in what you might term a rough plateau. And the sort of leader of the groups of people in an Iron Age hill fort would in most cases have his dwelling away from the general population in a higher spot. I just get the feeling this may well have been it. It's surrounded on all sides by additional kind of rocks. It's a good spot. And you do wonder which of these rocky crags he threw his daughter from, strapped her to a chariot and just chucked her off the edge because she had the audacity to be raped. And he somehow survived, made it across the Firth of Forth, where she allegedly gave birth to her son, Kentigern. There are some sources that suggest that Kentigern may actually have been born here and not in Curis. But whatever, there's just no denying the importance of this site. Tenue, Princess Tenue or Thenue, her name lives on in Glasgow in St Enoch Square, slightly corrupted pronunciation, spelling. She may actually be buried in St Enoch Square. And her son Kentigern, renamed Mungo by monks in Curis, went on to become Saint Mungo, the patron saint of Glasgow. This little hill in East Lothian, Traprain Law, is really where Glasgow began. I'm Eddie Burns. Take care.